Welcome to the En route series, Jenny. Everyone, this is Jenny Nuccio. She is the CEO and founder of Imani Collective. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
What is Imani Collective?
Yeah, Imani Collective is, in short, I guess, a socioeconomic women empowerment program that makes ethical lifestyle home decor items. So I am actually based in Mombasa, Kenya, with our artisans here, and our warehouse and where our stateside team is in the beautiful city of Dallas, that's where we output all of our lifestyle products.
Are you planning to expand a little bit, it sounds like? Because if you have a stateside team, you're going to have different locations or...
Imani Collective started actually as a training program almost 10 years ago. And so we started with the intention of being impact centric. So when we talk about expansion or when we're looking at that, we're looking at a lot of different elements to that. And so our next kind of steps, we're always expanding in our artisan group here. And then I'm sure if you were to check up on me in even 5 years, we'll be doing a lot more in the States too.
What led you to new life in Mombasa, Kenya?
I think it started with that first trip, like mission trip, that service trip in 2009, and deconstructing what it felt and looks like. This idea of family and culture, relationship, community can be so misunderstood when we go into a culture if we're not being cognizant of that culture we're going in and we're not being mindful of that culture we're going in. And so I moved to Kenya in 2013 to start the program. I knew I was supposed to be there. And all I knew that in that beginning part of Imani was that I needed to listen and how could I come alongside with my skills? They come alongside with theirs and we build something together. And so Imani Collective would not be where it is today if I didn't take, some big risk, because we wanted to be a forerunner in being a social impact brand, in being different in how we storytelled, in being different even how we looked. If you see our product, you wouldn't know we're made in Kenya. And we did that very intentionally because we wanted to be a very niche brand that surprised people that, hey, yes, we are made in Kenya. Yes, we can create consistency. Yes, we can create quality. We are very capable of doing that. When in a larger scale, when you're looking at any people kind of in our space, a lot of people don't want to buy from quote unquote Africa because of the inconsistency and it's not quality. And I wanted to prove that stigma wrong as well too. So
when you mentioned about the different risks that you had to take, what did you have to do to how uncomfortable was it? Did you just have to let everything go? Did you have to go all in kind of situation?
Yeah, there's many different ways I could answer this question, right? The first way is, of course, I sold everything. I left a box in my mom's house. I moved to Kenya. That's really extreme and really uncomfortable. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, that was kind of crazy. Everyone said I was crazy. And now I can identify that was crazy. At that time, I was just kind of naive and was like, nope, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. And I'm glad I took that and I went on that whim and I just went with my gut and my feelings because that led me to here. Right. But I think there's the other risk of being this entrepreneur, right? There's this other risk of that doesn't make sense, but it aligns to who you are and your core values. The first risk that I made in Imani Collective is I said that I will always pay you consistent, dignified salaries every month. You will consistently get monthly salaries. No matter what we sell, I will not do piecework and I'm going to commit to that. And when you do that, that's scary because one, I had no sales channel. I had nothing, nothing at that point. And so I took a risk of that financial burden and I had to be creative in other ways to bring that in. And, through grants and donations at that time because we were a nonprofit. Right. That's that other, risk I had to take too, is showing up as a vulnerable leader and being transparent. When I know a lot of people in this space that they look really good on social media or they look really good in their brand, but they're not willing to tell the truth of hey guys, we're still growing. Hey, we still need help here. Hey, this is where we're at. And from the very beginning until now, I am an open book of where we're at, where we're going. From our collective on the ground in Kenya, that's what we represent, is like, we're better together, right? And we say we're not just better together, we are our best. And I think that not only is in our Kenyan collective and our women here, but that has resonated with our customers, our investors we've had, like people who are just a part of our journey. And so I'm just thankful for taking the risk of vulnerability and showing up in a space where people can meet me at that table.
It is so hard to go from, you know, nonprofit, then for profit, and then having to explain the social impact at the same time, a business model in the world of capitalism, and finding the balance of the two, but also finding the right people to invest that has the right morale, right, and values and such. So that's really, I really commend you for that.
And yeah, and redefining that, right? I think that is, you know, I coach a lot of social entrepreneurs, and they're like, well, what should I be? Should I be a business? Should I be a nonprofit? And to me, it doesn't matter what entity you run in. It matters how you think about it. And if you're not thinking sustainably, then no matter what entity you run in, you're going to struggle, right? And so when you can be honest with yourself, when you can look at something and say, oh, just because I'm a nonprofit, then I'm failing as a business. That's not true. It's hard for donors. It's hard for investors. It's a new concept. You know, social enterprise in the last 10 years has grown exponentially, in the sense of we say it a little bit more, but a lot of us still don't understand that concept of what that is. And we have to be okay with curving that and changing that and being the forerunners of that. And I love that Imani Collective can be that, and be that example for many people.
So why home decor though?
The reason we did home decor is when we went to the New York Now show in 2016, we were still, I would say, a scattered brand. We still were made of bright colors, like the natural local fabric here in Kenya called kitenge. Like, we looked very Kenyan or African, right? Like, you knew what region we were from. And for a while, I would not let go of that, because I was like, this is our roots. This is who we are. This is, you know, it's kind of like where you're from, right? You don't want to let go of that, that story. But that show did not go the best. So we went to that show, and people loved our story. They loved what we were doing, but they just couldn't connect to our product. They didn't know where it could fit in their stores or where they could sell it. And so I hired on Haley, who was my first US hire, to be our lead designer. And at that time we had young kids, like nursery, like, you know, just a couple months old. And we noticed this like gap in the market, that there's actually several large artisan brands making home decor, like rugs, baskets, things, but nothing for kids' spaces. And so we actually, our ICA is the modern mom, where it was like, well, how can she decorate her kid's space, where then she could also, when that kid gets older, tell the story of where that home decor is coming from, but create something and have something that is aesthetically pleasing in their home, that's not gaudy or plastic or anything like that, but that looks beautiful. Just trying to decorate our own son's nurseries, and wanting to do that. Yeah.
So you now have a successful e-commerce business that you run from Kenya, with the fulfillment in Dallas, Texas. Is that right?
Everything is produced in Kenya and then fulfilled out of Dallas.
Where did Imani Collective begin, in the sense of like, did you have a designated space? Like, can you walk me through kind of like the stages of growth of your inventory space?
That's always fun to look back at. I would send small parcel shipments to my mom's house. And again, everything starts from the mom's house. I left a box in my mom's house. Then I sent my shipments to my mom's house. She's been a vital part of the story.
Very supportive.
When I hired on Haley, then it, you know, that really quickly transferred to her house. And then from there, we had a small, I would say, like, closet office. But this office had like no windows, like 2 small rooms. And so they worked out that space, and just like piles of boxes all around them. And so it was in an old like medical building in Dallas, and we would have to get all of our shipments into our cars, into,
Yeah.
go to the post office, all of that. So it was just one of those kind of bootstrapping moments. Then stopbox came and we moved, and it's been awesome. So that's where we are now.
Amazing. Isn't it amazing how it's just like, the story of starting from an apartment or starting from a smaller space. Then you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, I've really grown. It's incredible.
Yeah.
What were the benchmarks you hit that allowed you to make the decisions that landed you there, though?
I think it all goes back to, for us as a social impact brand, it goes back to our impact of like, okay, well, we have a capacity of our artisans, and we need to meet that demand. So when we moved and we pivoted and we changed the priorities of like even financials and where we're moving stuff, we started to really pay attention to marketing. How can we move inventory in a way that we can keep up with, again, the capacity that our current artisan staff can make? Because like I said, from the very beginning, I'm always and have always committed to those monthly salaries. So it's like, okay, now we can meet such a great capacity. Where are we going to put this stuff? Right. And so I think that's really what has drawn our decisions as a company of moving forward, how we're, not just looking at the e-commerce site, but how we're partnering with custom brands as well. We do a lot of custom collaborations with larger brands, and, we have distribution channels in Canada, UK, and Australia. And so how are we really honing into that growth and those stories and whatnot?
What challenges did you face when you first started?
I think anything like human, social, and financial capital, what we all struggle with. I think,
Yeah.
having the people, but we couldn't have the people because, right, you don't have the finances. So I think those are our biggest struggles. And for me as a leader, it's like I always want to make sure we're we're ethical across the board in all that we do, not just in Kenya. We say we take a holistic approach to empowerment, and we don't want to just do that in Kenya. We also want to make sure that we're doing that in the States and with our team there. And so, like, one of the first things I did with our team in the States is I offered them childcare as well, just like we offer childcare services in Kenya. And that was a massive risk to take because that's a financial risk that I'm taking, but I wanted it to be a benefit for our moms, in the States as well. And so I think with that, there was always that cash constraint as we're growing and the, capacity building and what that looks like. But we've had an amazing team. I think you cannot replicate a culture, and our culture is one of a kind. And we would not be here today if we didn't have not just our outward people who believe in us and our customers, but our inward team who have sacrificed when, sacrifices needed to be made, and who have just continued to just go beyond, above and beyond as we've grown and scaled. Yeah.
You can also share the journey that it took in 2016, just like the human side of what really happened. Because I just think it just needs to be shared. It is crazy. It's amazing. Like, so courageous too.
Yeah, my life is in Kenya. So my team in Dallas and where we are is there, and I get the joy of being here. But with that, that's, I'm across the world. So when we got invited to New York now, I wrapped up my 4-month-old son. I was a new mom. So Jaden is now 6, but I was a new mom and wrapped him up, and we flew over to New York. I'd never been to New York before. It was my first time in the city. I'm originally from Texas. So, that can also be another culture shock in itself. But, but I had plenty of culture being from Kenya, so it wasn't, you know what I'm saying?
It was a different kind, yeah.
Yeah, so I wrapped up Jaden. We went over, and I remember, before I thought I was being so clever or just trying to be so creative. I had ordered like all this furniture from like IKEA before to get there. And I get there and I'm like, Jaden's like rolling around on the floor while I'm trying to set up this booth, and all the samples are just in a suitcase, right? And what I realized, because again, I've never been to a wholesale show before, is that people like, professionally set up these booths, like make them, design them, get walls built in, all that stuff, which now we do and we're very good at it. But it was just hilarious because when I look back, I literally was just doing it alone. You know, people are like already all set up and I'm just like still setting up at midnight and they're like kicking me out of the like Javits Center and they're like,
Oh
you
my
really gotta,
gosh.
you gotta go. And so that was a lot, you know, for 4
Wow.
days. It was just me and him. And I had one volunteer with me and she was amazing. And I was tired and I was crying because the show did not go the way we wanted to go, right? Like
Yeah.
people gave us a lot of encouraging words, but like I thought it was going to be our big break. And I was at that moment, that breaking point as a founder of like, I cannot take one more step forward and I'm done. Like I'm going to close the doors of Imani Collective. And that is a very big part of our story because I was very much done. Like I was going to go back to Kenya and kind of shut it down because I just couldn't wear the pressure of the livelihoods and what I had promised and I couldn't keep up with it and I just felt like I was feeling a lot of guilt, like I wasn't stewarding people's money well. You know, people had sponsored us to be there and I had wooed them into it and said we're going to
Yeah.
do great, you know, and people believed in me and I just felt like I let people down. And it's in that moment that I will encourage and say to founders, CEOs that like when you get to that spot when we're like drowning, like we have to find a way to find solitude and rest. And that was my saving grace. I gained so much clarity of like, why am I trying to do this alone? Like, why am I trying to do all the things and all the hats? And that's when I, you know, invited Haley to be a part of it. But I don't think I would have ever gotten there because I was so tired and that trip was so draining. And I felt like I just, you know, that I did it all wrong. And I had been in it for, at that time, you know, only about 3.5 years. But now coaching social entrepreneurs, I find that that is a fragile spot. That 2.5 to like 4.5 year spot is so fragile. And when I'm talking to entrepreneurs in that space, especially in social impact spaces, it is really hard. And so my first question to them always is like, when have you stepped away from the business and just had time for yourself? Because you're so immersed in it. And if you don't have time to just like stop looking down, I always am like, you know, we look down, we're looking down because we're just trying to press forward. But if we don't stop doing that to look up, we're going to miss the opportunities that are right in front of us. And that's what I was doing. And as soon as I was able to like have solitude and look up, I saw the opportunity of how we could be innovative and creative and change what we were doing.
It's just really hard when people are depending on you or you are depending on them and stuff like that, and realizing that, you know, it's great when people send words of encouragement. It's really great to have that cheer because you need that, you know, your mental or spiritual side to kind of be uplifted. But at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, as an entrepreneur, it's the actions that really, you know, really counts to really kind of get over the big humps. So thank you for sharing that. How do you juggle being a mom and running your business?
I'm still not great at this, but and for me, it's creating very intentional margin in my life. Being in Kenya too, the struggle that I have is time zones, time difference, running a global, you know, business.
Yeah.
Like it runs into the evening, it starts early in the morning. And especially in the beginning stages of Imani Collective, every moment to me was urgent, right? Everything I had to hop onto, every phone call I needed to be a part of. And that catches up to you, especially, when you're a wife and you have 3 kids. And we also have a lot of other projects that we're involved in Kenya. And so this year, my word of the year is actually realignment. And I really focused on this margin in this space. And so my team knows I've set the standard that like from 4 p.m. here in Kenya to 8:30 p.m. like you can't schedule meetings. You won't get a hold of me. And that's like prime time for you guys in the States. You're waking up like my 4, 5, and 6 p.m. is like your 8, 9, 10, 11, right? It's like these perfect morning hour times to me. But that's right in the middle of picking up my kids and making dinner and being present with them and getting baths and bed. And what I realized is I used to juggle that where I'd be like on a phone and doing a bath with a kid and like trying to just like do it all. And then that would be a trigger and I would, you know, be getting impatient with my children and they're not getting the best of me. They're getting the leftovers of me and that's not fair for them. And so as I've created that, even in the last couple months, that has just been such a grounded shift in my family and them being a priority, not Imani being my only and sole priority, you know, our business taking number one. But and that is, I've just seen change in even like my children's behaviors, and you know, it just a lot of beautiful like transformation has happened just in that one easy like let's create margin, you know. I also don't take any meetings on Thursdays. So if you ever try to schedule anything all day with me, even my team in Kenya on Thursdays, I don't take them. It's like
Is that your
it's a
CEO day?
yeah, it's like my self-reflective day. Like I know I don't go into the workshop. You don't like, you know, I get to choose something fun to do. And if I intentionally choose to do work, okay, that's what I intentionally choose to do.
Right.
I try obviously not to do that. Like, but sometimes the work we're doing it's fun. We're ideating, you know, but I just don't
Yeah.
want to be bogged down with meetings. And then my husband and I always go out on a date. So we do a date night every Thursday and get our kids taken care of. So just finding these ways to really like care for myself and create margin has been a game changer.
What has been your proudest moment thus far?
Last year when we decided, you know, we rebranded, we automatically changed our mindset as a business, right? We started making those shifts. But actually stepping into a for-profit and creating a hybrid was a big step in it, but we knew we wanted to step into that. We knew we wanted to be leaders in that. So I guess my proudest moment really is choosing to partner with Haley, my lead designer, who is now my partner in the business, and do it with someone we are an amazing team. We balance each other out so well, and just opening that account with her, doing that, like nothing changed, right? In the sense of like what we're doing. But for us, it was such a big step in the right direction, and to honor her in that of all the work she did. She's part of the blueprint of Imani Collective, and to give her, to just do that with her, to do business together, I think was just like such a fun moment, and us doing that together. And then I think, you know, to be honest, it is hard when you're growing and scaling. And if you are raising capital right now, God be with you. It is a hard journey, and I get it. And another job. But I would say when we got our first investor that said yes and gave us that money, because it was like, I feel like that journey is so grueling. It's sometimes even demeaning, because you're like, why do I have to constantly prove myself? And I'm constantly saying, you know, you're just constantly telling a story, constantly showing numbers, constantly proving the concept, which, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're always like, obviously the optimist that like, this is going to be amazing and this is going to be awesome. But it's just a grueling process. So I think switching over to that hybrid model, having her as my partner, doing it together, getting our first investment, that was all a big morale boost, and really was like, yeah, we are on the right track. We are going somewhere. And seeing how it affected our whole team, that ripple effect into Kenya too, has just been really exciting in the last couple of years.
The pandemic has brought out new challenges too, which has been, you know, and you being a global business too, I'm sure that would have been somewhat of a whirlwind. I can only imagine. Yeah. And, you know, but sometimes unexpected hardships bring upon innovation. So how have you been able to pivot your business if you needed to and find relief by thinking outside the box? When
COVID happened, we actually, one of our workshops, we have 3 in Kenya. One of them in Old Town, which is our leading location, was barricaded in. It's also where I live. So I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and I had to go through barricades to give birth. That's a whole nother story.
Wow, that is powerful. Okay. Wow.
Yes. But we were barricaded in, which meant no one could come in and out. And only a few of my artisans actually lived in this small community. Most people were like just on the next street, but it was such a small area that barricaded, and our workshop landed right in the middle of it. At the same time that happened, we had like increase of sales because people are at home and shopping a lot online. And so I'm having like increase of influx of sales. My workshop is closed. It was closed for almost 2 months, and I'm trying to navigate that. But what it brought was this like really cool innovation within our leaders in Kenya and our team here of like, okay, well, how can we move? How can we bring the machines to people's homes? How can we still allow them to still work in different ways? And although it wasn't easy, again, I didn't want to stop paying my artisans because of something that was not that they did not incur, like that was not because of them, right? So it's like I just felt like that wasn't fair, like of like you can't get to the workshop, plus there's deeming it, not space safe, of course, to be in that workshop together. Like, what do you do? And it was, I think leaders across the world had to learn how to crisis manage really quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just cool again to see the collective of like, it doesn't have to lean on my shoulders. Like, we have a whole team of people who can be innovative. How can we still move? And so that allowed us to really, see production in a new light, which now we've integrated different ways of that we do that in our systems on the ground here in Kenya. But we also, again, pivoted for a short time where I think I saw a lot of artisan brands, a lot of apparel brands do this, where we did, cater and make masks. At that time, there was a shortage, right? So we made a lot of them. And for every mask that was bought, we gave out 2 in the community here in Kenya. So we ended up giving, I think like 600 masks out within that first month to just our community here. So for us too, it was like, how can, even in a hard time, even in a financially hard time, like how can we still give back to our community and align with that part of who we are? So
Jenny, we both know that entrepreneurship is a wild ride. What is your favorite part of this crazy adventure?
I think my favorite part is to just create. And I say it's kind of like having this limitless mindset, which kind of seems weird, but I never thought I'd be a serial entrepreneur. I have several businesses. I think I always just thought I would work for someone. Like, that's kind of the Texas thing. I don't know, you're raised, you do hard work, you get a good secure job. So I knew I was hardworking. So, but I think what I love is I always tell people of like living this fearless life. It's not that I am not afraid of what's going to happen or the risks that I'm going to take, but I still take them in bold and courageous ways because, that's the journey of entrepreneurship, of just like even facing that adversity and being in that, the idea of being misunderstood and still pushing forward. And so I think my joy of this whole crazy wild ride is being able to wake up every day and run towards dreams and goals and visions that aren't, are big. They're so big, but they're so fun because as we grow as leaders, as we grow in our character, and in all of our experiences, it almost becomes easier, right, to take those big risks and those fun. It becomes weird to actually be afraid of it because that becomes part of our being, of just like our mindset now, right? And so I think having the joy of just knowing like you can do it, and the only person stopping you from doing that is yourself. And so I just love getting up and trying new things, really.
What can we look forward to from Imani Collective in the near future?
Oh man, everything, guys. We have actually literally this month alone 11 product launches. Like, this whole year we are launching new products like crazy. So that alone is really exciting. We also, I'll just put it out there because I think it's okay. Hopefully Haley won't get mad, but we are doing a really cool jewelry collaboration. We designed it last year. So we're really excited. We're partnering with a brand that we really love. And what we love about doing stuff like that is we collaborate with partners, and we don't white label. We share their story too, and we ethically story tell what they're doing. And so we have a really cool partner we'll be highlighting this year. So that will be coming out. So be looking for some really beautiful, just dynamite jewelry pieces that are going to be like one of a kind. If you're in Australia, we have like that. We're blowing up in Australia. So that's been a fun thing. So I just hope you guys continue to follow our story and buy products, go advocate for us. And we're just excited you're a part of it.
Where can we find and connect with you as the CEO of Imani Collective, Jenny? Such as Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Say it all.
Absolutely. All of those, Jenny Nuccio, NUCCIO. You can also, jennynuccio.com. Like I mentioned, I do a lot of coaching and consulting and have some programs there. So if you are in the social impact space, or if you're just looking for resources, I love sharing them there. And so I do a lot of that through my Instagram. That's my main kind of platform.
And the final question is, can you share with us a word or phrase in Swahili that doesn't exist in English and translate what it means too?
Oh man. So my favorite phrase is usijali, which means don't, like, no worries. So of course, Hakuna Matata, but the cooler way of saying it is usijali, because then people know you're authentic. I am from Mombasa, so we say Mombasa Raha, which just means basically like hang loose, like it's all cool here. And then something that I say probably regularly, I mean, obviously all my greetings, but I love, if you're just going to go out and say Mungu Kubariki, or just God bless you, Siku Njema, have a good day. I could say all those things, but yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Come, I'll give you Swahili left.
Ah, amazing. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thanks for having me. And maybe next time we get together, we'll be face to face and you won't have to see such of my Kenya connection, but I'm glad I still got to share my story, even despite the connection here. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We love having you on here on the N-Word series. Thank you, Jenny.